Okay, I'm sure you've heard this before that peace begins with a smile. And I also know that, smiling is charity. So let us all imbibe this spirit as we, touch other people's lives positively with our smiles. Welcome to the studios of Weekend Deal. It's always a pleasure to have you join us on the show. My name is Suleiman Babajia Usman. Yesterday, yes, we looked at the impact of civil service when we talk about advancing, the socioeconomic development of Nigeria, and we know how, integral part, the important role they play in ensuring this. And coming to the studio, I've been, reflecting or reading some of the messages sent yesterday, and trust me, we will continue in that direction today. And we make references to the past yesterday, how the Civil Service Commission will go into the universities to poach, some of the best brains there. And right now we're going to take the background report, and after that we talk more about some of these issues.
The Nigerian civil service remains the engine room of government, regardless of contrary views to this time-tested belief. It is indeed the repository of institutional knowledge and policy continuity, both critical ingredients for sustainable development, especially in a country aspiring for greatness as Nigeria.
The colonial civil service we inherited actually functioned probably very efficiently and effectively up to probably the early 70s. I'm afraid that what has happened since then will leave much to be desired. Not because we don't have, in fact, as a matter of fact, more qualified people are available in the contemporary dispensation. But I think what is lacking is commitment and dedication to service. And we are also talking of a period in the past when you could not combine your public service with private business. But everything is so diluted now. People even bring in their communities to the office, particularly secretaries, whether men or women. They will bring whatever articles of sale they have to the office to sell. But you couldn't do that because that will amount to, divided loyalty. Are you serving the public or you are serving self?
One of the benefits of working with the government as a civil servant is that of job security, especially if you are coming from the private sector, where you can lose your job at any time.
Look at it from the point of view of the current experience we have had with COVID-19 pandemic. Public servants or civil servants didn't lose their jobs, and this is a plus for government. But a number of private organizations had to downsize, and it not only happened here in this country, but all over the world. Because even in America, the number of job losses during the pandemic, actually snowballed. So the public service is a guarantor, of job security, and that's why a lot of people, want to work in the public service.
There are various salary structures for civil servants in the country. However, some have argued that the high disparity in the salary structure is a huge driver of corruption in the public service.
You may actually qualify or get this, have the same qualification But if you join the civil service, for instance, you are a graduate, you train to be a teacher, and when you come out, you get in the mainstream civil service job as a teacher in a secondary school. Then you also have a colleague of yours who is a graduate, went to university to go and learn how to be a teacher, and he is employed by, say, for instance, an NPC. The two of them, coming from the same university, the same qualification, have gone into two different organs of the state. So one is in the public service, in the parastatal sector. The other one is the main civil service. So what they pay, the salary schedule, usually in some public service or some parastatals, are usually higher than what you have in the mainstream.
The statutory retirement age in Nigeria is 60 years or 35 years of unbroken active service, whichever comes first. After retirement, civil servants are entitled to benefits such as gratuity and pension. However, one wonders why it takes a very long time for retirees to be paid gratuities and pensions, unlike in the past.
Why is it that PENCOM is not in a position to, certify everybody that has retired at the point of retirement, and immediately they go into retirement, what is why is due to them, should be given to them? This is the question that PENCOM has not been able to answer, and that's why colleagues of mine, for over 1 year now, I have colleagues who have not been paid, any kobo from even what they have contributed to as part of the pension they will have to get. When I retired, I said to myself, well, if my colleagues have spent 1 year and they couldn't get a kobo from their own contribution, then I should also expect that maybe I have to wait, God giving us life till next year before, or even 2 years later, before I can, smell, any, payment from PENCOM.
Poverty has become a major blemish in world economics over the past 3 decades. This issue of poverty is a multidimensional concept synonymous with inability to attain a minimum standard of living, low quality of life, and lack of control over one's life and future. The picture in developing nations is not different, especially among civil servants in Nigeria.
People actually also complain that the salaries they are getting will not be enough for them to survive from 1 month to another. So even if you are very good at planning, what are you going to plan? You plan, without any extra income for you to put aside. But I am also saying that government put in, a program, contributory pension scheme, which was actually a good idea. Put something down before your retirement, and people will now retire and they cannot have access to such contribution. This is the problem.
Our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on the civil service in Nigeria as the engine room of governance.
Yes, civil service as engine room of governance. And I know that it's certainly not something one should celebrate after you must have spent like 35 years of active, service. And then at the end of the day, you have to queue, to get your pension, gratuity, and all of that. Is certainly not something that we should hope to see after we must have retired. So there's a lot that needs to be done to fix the system. And I know we've had several reforms to put the civil service in a better condition. We had Morgan Commission, Adebo Commission, Udoji, and now we're talking about the implementation of Steve Oronsaya's report. So if some of these things are really, really done appropriately, certainly we can only smile, because a lot of people would want to be a part of the civil service and give their best to developing Nigeria. Now, we have some messages here. This one says, greetings. My name is Prince Agua from Anko In Junction, Obiabu Road, Egbema, Imo State. Sir, I want to tell you that the reason why Nigerian civil servants he wants to note really that most Nigerian civil servants are the most marginalized in the world in terms of welfare and wages. Thank you for that contribution. And right now, of course, yesterday we talked about how, the glorious past was all about, how, people had, right to car loans, housing loans and all of that. But today it's a different, case. So we want to know the civil service of today. And this report is coming from Lagos.
It is no gain saying that civil service in Nigeria is important to any government and good governance. The civil service is central, important in policy formulation and implementation. The civil service provides both professional and technical advice to successive government. A civil servant has a measure of permanence. In tracing the emergence of civil service in Nigeria, these dates back from 1900. The civil service is guided by three principles: anonymity, neutrality, and partiality. It means a civil servant should be seen and not heard. A civil servant must be politically neutral. A civil servant is expected to discharge duties without fear. What then are the major functions of the civil servant?
Our core area of strength is to work with the elected representative of the people, the political leadership, to translate their vision to reality, which ultimately should translate to transformation or development of our communities.
The federal and state civil servants play a major economic, social, and educational objective of both the federal and state government. Civil service also gathers statistical information for the activities of the government. The civil service is a store of knowledge of past government decisions and procedures. Thus, it plays an educative role by assisting professionals and political executives, especially new ones, to adapt themselves to the realities of their offices. The civil service is mainly organized, and the federal ministry is headed by a minister appointed by the president. The state ministry is headed by the commissioners appointed by the governor. Statistics shows as of 2015, federal government civil servants are 89,511, excluding the military and police. The civil service has faced a number of challenges.
Maintaining the balance and relationship between the political class on one hand, and also getting the community to understand their vision is another thing. The challenge has always been in terms of remuneration, in terms of welfare. Civil servants retiring and not getting their terminal benefits, that is retirement benefit on time.
What are the gains of civil service?
I think number one is that security of employment. You have that security of employment. People cannot just throw you out. There are laid down procedures before you can be laid off. So you have that assurance. From that, there's this career progression. You start from low level, you can climb up to become director, PS, even head of service, and you acquire along the line very relevant experience that can take you to anywhere.
The influence of the civil service is not debatable. It remains a major force in today's governance. The civil service contains a network of human relations and associations extending from the highly influential government officials to the lowest paid and powerless individual.
Of course, we cannot, debate the relevance of the civil service when it comes to ensuring good governance in any society. Now, we talk about, the quality of life of a civil servant, and that is exactly what the next story will focus on. After that, we talk more.
The civil service as a government institution plays an important role in ensuring government policies are built with tangible services for the benefit of the populace. It is a requirement of the Institutional Reform and Governance Act that selection for recruitment to the civil service must be based on merit, on the basis of fair and open competition. According to statistics, over 20.9 million people are unemployed in Nigeria. This shocking reality has raised opinions which range from the number of job seekers exceeding the available jobs to weak governance structure, poor productivity, and lack of control.
The level of employment in the civil service now is very low. Many MDAs are practically not employing. That is in terms of level 1 to 6. Then for level 7 to 12 is done by the Federal Civil Service Commission. Anybody who is a graduate now can go there, obtain form, fill the form, and then start the process of, waiting for employment, maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, God knows when. That person will be lucky.
Whenever there is a job opportunities in the civil service, they make it known to the public. Then it's now left for people who have interest to apply. And if you're given the job, they're lucky. And if you keep recruiting people every year, you see that the population in the civil service will be much. And the productivity of civil servants might not be as expected.
We don't even have retirements now in civil service. It's a kind of a transfer from one work to the other. And they have extended, with all these things, they have extended to, more years in service. So there's no employment generation for the youth. And there are no industries and more opportunities to expand.
Today you see Nigerians who have graduated for more than 15 years and they are still looking for a job in the civil service or even in the private sector. Over the years, the structures that need to be put in place to generate employment were neglected by previous governments.
A survey identified the problems in the civil service from different sources.
I don't need to know one honorable, I don't need to know one minister before I get a job in the civil service. And if you look at it, that is what is happening today. Some of these high-top politicians send their children abroad to school, whether we add our education in the country, they will still come back and compete with us on the same job, and they will get the job before us. We hear NNPC bring out job adverts, people will apply, they will write tests. At the end of the day, nothing is being done. I did an NNPC test when, I think 2012, I didn't hear anything since then. All we hear is that this lot is to this senator, this lot is to this House of Rep member. There are people that have gotten to the retirement stage who have to leave. Someone have to fill that space. So those we can see, how are they putting people there? Who are the people that are there? So no matter how the economy could be, there is always job opportunities. The numbers could not just be in line with the people who are actually seeking for job. But saying there are no job opportunities is a big lie. There are. The recruitment process in the civil service should be transparent and the time should be minimal, in the sense that I should know that once I apply, this is the next stage for me. There should be a public hearing. National Assembly need to do their job, but they are our representative. Head of service should be called to this. The Minister of Labour, both the state and the senior minister, should come. Engage private sector, private consultants who are HR consultants. So the human capital development in the public sector really needs to be looked into critically, and investment needs to be done.
Nigeria's population grows daily and our labor force is on the increase. So, avenues should be...
All right, that was always reports. We get to take the one from Channel 10 much later, and always report actually focused on job security and the need to create more. And right now we had a chat with Honorable Wale Raji during the week, and then the focus was actually still on the relevance of civil service. Honorable Raji is actually the member representing a federal constituency of Lagos State. He's also the chairman Committee on House Services. And right now, let's take this interview. After that, we talk more.
Everyone talks about the civil service, and that goes to show how functional and impactful their responsibilities are for a smooth functioning of government's policies, such that it has a positive impact on Nigerians. It may come as a surprise for many that way back some people left jobs in the private sector to work in the civil service. One such person is Honorable Wale Raji, a permanent secretary in Lagos, still is the longest serving permanent secretary in Lagos today. He is in the National Assembly.
I actually started in the ministry, later went to the private sector, returned to the public service through the World Bank assisted development project, and thereafter I moved into the mainstream of the civil service where I rose to become a permanent secretary. Service was good, and I still believe it's good. The level of discipline then was much higher than today. The quality of the leadership, the top echelon of the civil service was high. They commanded respect from their subordinates because of the level of discipline, level of professionalism, exhibited by them. There's no doubt the civil servants, they constitute the engine room of any government. The top civil servants, apart from policy formulation, assisting the political class in putting together their ideas, translating them into programs and projects for the betterment of the society. They also act as advisors to the political class, usually the ministers. In my own case, commissioners at the state level. Then they were to be seen, not to be heard, and they were always the act from behind the scene. But civil servants these days are more visible than the civil servants of the old. The performance of civil servants as engine room of government determines to a very large extent, efficiency of the government.
The civil service, as it is today, is taking a few knocks in areas of discipline, productivity, technological know-how, and dedication to duty. To what extent is training or a lack of it responsible?
Their ability to perform that role depends on the quality of the civil service. If I must be honest, the quality has gone down considerably in terms of discipline, in terms of quality of delivery. It has been affected. Quality has been compromised. Discipline has gone down drastically. First and foremost, we can't run away from the fact that political interference, non-adherence to the rules in appointments, promotion, and discipline in the service. We all know in those days the rigorous process that you go through in appointment. And also, I must add, the quality of training is another thing. You can't give what you don't have. In those days, there used to be program training programs for officers. When you come in, you go through orientation, you go through structured training for new civil servants. In Lagos State, for instance, it was compulsory at a stage, that you must go to the ASCON, Administrative Staff College of Nigeria, for training before you advance. You are at the very early stage of but that has not much is being spent on training of the civil servants. And two, the method of employment now, there are many of those new officers being employed that some don't even go through the prescribed process, including interview, written test. Some, we all know it, we can't run away, we can't hide it. There are times that we must face the truth. Some, they get their letters of appointment, even without interview. And also, the wrong application of the quota system. Quota system is not totally bad, but one will expect that in applying the federal character principle, we look out for the best. There's no part of Nigeria that cannot produce good quality people. But in the name of complying with the federal character principle, in most cases, we compromise. And in most cases, there are even outright breach of the federal character principle. The provision of the Constitution requires that in employment, federal structure of the country must be reflected, such that no part of the country is left out in consideration. You discover that in most cases, if you want to know the local government or the town that the chief executive officer of a party of any agency is from, just take the nominal role. Even in the states most of them come from, there is unfairness in the distribution, and you see some of them from their own villages, and all these have impacted, negatively on the quality of the civil service these days.
The civil service opens its doors to graduates to give fresh input, and it is not uncommon for some to frown at the versatility of some graduates of Nigeria's tertiary institutions, especially because of the recurring strikes, adding that this births young people who are underprepared for life's challenges.
There is no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. The quality, yes. Because now, not that the set standard has fallen, no. If I ask you, how many months in a session do the students spend learning? In the last 5-6 years, how many months per section have students spent in school learning? It's either the teaching, the academic staff, they are always in and out of strikes. And By the time they manage to negotiate and come back to school, only to rush the students to do examination. So what you now discover is that the students, they read to pass exams. And so what do you expect from such? So quality has been compromised, as a result of incessant strike. And also the new employees themselves, probably because of the way and manner they get the job, that seriousness, commitment is not always there. And everybody is in a hurry, the rat race. I won't single out the civil servants. Corruption is general in Nigeria. Let us face it. Is it in the private sector that there is no corruption, or the public service? No, let's look at it. You see, it's like even our society is primed for corruption. Let's look at appointments. When you get any political appointment, when you get any civil service appointment, the society itself expects you to make money. And that is why an executive director in a bank who earns probably more than $1 million or 2 million, more than 2 million naira per month, upon appointment as a commissioner in a state, the friends is being congratulated all over. And you will now ask how much is the salary of a commissioner. So it's like the society itself expects you to, and everybody now sees that as an opportunity, that our time has come. In natural fact, the way, if those who choose not to be corrupt, by the time they return to the society after their tenure, they'll be faced with curses. People will be raining curses on them, that you had an opportunity to make money and you refuse to, So I think generally, in the issue of corruption, I won't single out the civil service, but then the more disciplined, the more the civil service is corruption free, I think the better for all of us.
The civil service in Nigeria is being accurately hailed as the engine room of governance, and it is imperative that all civil servants act on this. According to Honorable Wale Raji, the federal government has a big role to play.
Governments at all levels now, they need to be committed to improving the civil service at all levels, by one, ensuring that they are adequately trained. Civil service rules, public service rules are adhered to strictly in promotion, appointment, and ensure that they are paid their legitimate dues when due. A situation where civil servants are owed for months, what do you expect? A situation where they work for 35 years, upon retirement, they die on the queue, waiting for their pension. What message are you sending to them? Is it not that you take care of yourself while you are in the service? So we still have a lot to do in that regard. One, the salary, we need to look into the salary being paid, should be the take-home pay should be adequate to really take them home. 2, we must also be fair in promotion, appointment, and discipline. Perseverance, adherence to the rules, self-discipline, and commitment to self-development. So this, and also respect for the rules. If we had focus on cutting corners, probably would not have been able to rise to the level we rose to. My attitude is that whatever opportunity you have to serve, it is how you do other people's job that you will also do yours.
Words of wisdom, of course. That was Honorable Olaole Raji representing Ekbe constituency there. And of course, it mentioned a lot of things, from the challenges of, quota system, if you like, federal character, discipline, and the need to also improve yourself, investing in yourself. You don't really, it's good if your organization, organizes training for you, but sometimes you also have to take it upon yourself to improve yourself, self-development. Right now, I know also that if the right environment is given to any civil servant, you can only expect the best from him. And right now, we're going to take a look at the quality of life of civil servants in Nigeria. And this report is coming from Jos.
The Nigerian civil service has promoted sustainable human development over the years, development that demands availability of resources for generations to be sustained. In the past, it was a thing of pride to be called a civil servant, as the civil service is known for distinction, excellence, and anchored on 4 core principles of stewardship, trust, engagement, and professionalism. Today, in Plateau State, ambitious and enterprising youth see the state civil service as killer of vision, dreams, and noble aspiration. As such, the civil service is therefore not seen as an ideal place to seek long-term career pursuits for growth and fulfillment in life.
If you're going to depend on government, you will wait and you will be tired. That's just the truth. When I finished my first degree, I told myself I'm not going to stay in my father's house. If you're going to depend on government, my dad was like, okay, just finish up, we'll see on, carry your CV to this office here and there. He tried his possible best. But I wasn't really depending on him. I just left him to do what he wanted to do there. But my mindset was for me to work for myself and to do what I think I can do.
The quality of life of an average civil servant is not an enviable one, as the take-home pay, although increased over time, does not commensurate with the high cost of commodities in the markets, coupled with other sundry financial issues. Most Nigerian civil servants live from hand to mouth, waiting for the next month's salary, with half of it already spent.
In fact, with what we receive as civil servants today, there's nothing to write home. In fact, it's not even enough for you to pay the school fees of your children. Sometimes you pay 200,000 school fees per term, and virtually you're living from hand to mouth. Each time you receive the salary, like one man said, he prayed not for the payday to come, because the day he received pay, that is when he becomes very angry, because virtually the money is distributed, you have borrowed and you have to pay back.
The future is bleak for the Nigerian civil servant who do not have any plan.
We always advise civil servants that you start planning for your retirement the day you join the service. there are many things you can do. You can start savings, some little amount at the end of the month. You can also go into shares. But as a civil servant, nothing stops you again from going into farming or agriculture. If you are able to do to imbibe that culture right from the beginning, then you won't have any problem when you come to retire from service.
Aside from the monthly voluntary pension contribution scheme, the Nigerian civil servant will need a Plan B, a personal retirement plan, to be able to live comfortably after retirement from active service.
All right, that was a beautiful one. Right now we have a civil servant who just joined us on the show, but the first question probably will be related to the civil service, but she's here to talk about something else. She's a popular, face. I'm sure by the time I introduce her, you will reckon with the fact. She's a director and pioneer, head of Department Traditional, Complementary and Alternative Medicine of Federal Ministry of Health. You're welcome to our studio, Pharmacist Zainab Sharif.
I thank NTA for having me.
Interesting.
It's my home.
You've listened to some of our reports, and then you say this passion is no longer there to give all your best, for the service.
The service, you have to be determined, and the interest. You mentioned the idea of training, the idea of believing, and the idea of innovation, supporting innovation, and then the idea of some benefits. There is no longer there. But one has to continue. You have to believe in what you're doing. And the greatest of all, service to your nation.
And that's the motivation that has given birth to these publications. Now, talk to me about this, because we have three here: healing recipe, herbal therapy for common ailments. You have for common medicinal plants in Nigeria, and then this one, medicinal plants first aid kit, the kitchen spice rack.
Let me just say, this is a conglomerate of over 20 years research. My first publication, 3 books again, was in 2001. You can see 20 years after, revised edition. The interest is that we don't know. I keep on, I have always talked about green gold, green pharmacy. What I'm trying to say is that indigenous plants God has given us. And God gives us plants for many reasons. For the aspect of medicine, to use as medicine, to use as foods, to use as even in beautifying and balancing the ecosystem. But how often have we been able to utilize? And you can see that we have over 8,000 species of medicinal plants in Nigeria. We are yet to utilize this gap. And why I decided to write this book, the revised edition of these 3 books, you can see that I realized over the years there's a missing gap. A gap between the 2 extreme scientists who is speaking technically and the common man is not understanding him. And again, the practitioner who is saying what we don't understand, it's only the local that can understand it. That middle bridge needs to be brought together. This is the language I've spoken in those books. Trying to pick up the science that have been in the shelf with clear research work, bring them in, get the understanding of the practitioner, whom the Chinese say they are the barefoot doctors, they are the basis of our information and research, bringing in my years of experience, bringing in my training, bringing my aspect of exposure to Ayurvedic medicine, Chinese medicine, Japanese medicine, and more importantly, the intuition, and I believe is a call from God for me to do this assignment. So a lot has gone in. You complain about no standardization, no dosage. This has been addressed in these plans. This is just beyond reading books. Okay. Let's practicalize it. The practicality is that when you read this book, I see stimulation of small-scale industries coming up. I see stimulation of job creation. I see stimulation of healthy living, improving the quality of our lives.
But have we harnessed this potential really well in Nigeria?
We have not. So that is the information we need to give. We need to give a lot of information. There are plants that we know. They come and go. The plants are living things. We are plants, and plants are us. They take in what we give out, and we take in what they give out. That is a symbiotic marriage. So let's begin like the Chinese, the Indians. They harness their own potentials. They have a lot of plants. They have done a lot of database. We are yet to do that, but at least Is they said a journey of 1,000 miles begins in a day.
And I know we are also battling with COVID-19 at the moment, and then I know a lot of experts have said that this, medicinal plants can actually contribute a lot.
I want to categorically
boosting our immune system.
Categorically, scientifically, with no doubt that COVID-19 could not have been managed well in Nigeria if there were no use of natural products that we call immune boosters. Even the vaccine needs to boost your immunity. But for your immunity to be well boosted, you need to be healthy. You need to take the right foods. Your systems, your immunity systems need to be ready for the vaccine. So they go together. You can't have good vaccine without good nutrition. And you can't have good nutrition if you don't eat good foods. Dr. Rising in 1930 said, if you eat well, you may not always need the doctor. But if you don't eat well, will the doctor cure you? Nobody will cure you. Plants are there. Look at the baobab. Let me just give you the significance of a tree there. This is a baobab, the first one. Medicinal plants in Nigeria, the first one. This one.
Okay,
you see, common medicinal plants in Nigeria. I decided to address medicinal plants, give the information. You find that Chinese, most plants, they will say these plants are indigenous to China, they are indigenous to Japan, they are indigenous to... Not much is mentioned about Nigeria. You must tell your story. In this book, I have told our story. The medicinal plants that are indigenous to Nigeria, that have great potentials, e.g. bitter leaf, Venona and Bagladina. Do you know it's only in West Africa you have bitter leaf, except few Caribbean countries. But more importantly and richly abundantly in Nigeria. So is that not a potential plant and a potential cash crop for us to harness in, either as food or medicine, body care products, and research further to discover
what really
drugs.
is the challenge confronting us today when we talk about
political will. We need a strong political will, and then political will to support research. We have our institution, give them mandate, and mandate them at the end of 2 or 3 years. I want to see the journey. If I said I am doing medicinal plants, there is a value chain of cultivation, a value chain of processing, a value chain of drying, a value chain of storage, a value chain of marketing. And along the line, you can boost and reach wealth and job creation. So this is what we need to address. And this medicinal, it's good to see medicinal plant first aid kit. This is a good one. I love one for all mothers. In your kitchen, you have a spice rack. But most of these women, they use the spice rack to add flavor. I said, hey, stop it there.
It's more about fashion.
It's not all about a flavor. There is more. They are first aid remedies. Mothers are natural healers. So you must do a quick one on your first aid remedies before you even go to hospital. You may even realize the first aid remedy may be the best one, may be the first solution to you. So mothers need to understand this, and everybody needs to have this at home.
This one.
And then quickly, healing recipes. Oh my God, I need to thank NTA and pause and thank NTA. In my journey of 25 years, when I started this journey, people look at me as not even my colleagues. NTA, especially Executive Director, Mr. Coker, Wole Coker, he believed in me. Yes, he believed in me and said, Hajia, come on, this is my story of NTA. Healing recipe. All the recipes that I have mentioned, all the mixtures that I have prepared, what I have said is there. It's a quick one. And you talk about care of organs. In this book, you talk about care of the kidney, you talk about the care of the GIT, you talk about care of the heart. How do you manage? I have a topic which I love much, detoxification. In this book, you have a detoxification with 13 different recipes.
Interesting.
Deliberately giving 13 different recipes because I know even the cheapest can afford it. Out of these 13 recipes,
we're running out of time, but trust
me,
when are you going to launch this?
The launching is on Tuesday, which is 30th of March at the International Conference Center by 2 p.m.
So because of COVID, is anyone available?
There are strict regulations, of course, to COVID precautions.
Is it open to the public?
Not much, not many, because we need to control the sitting and we need to ensure that we maintain the COVID-19 protocols. But the good news, there is Zoom online. You can join us online too. So we are going to have that online for you to join us and participate in the launch.
The books online too?
Almost true. not completed.
So after
yes.
the launch, how am I going to pick up the book?
Go online. By then it
Okay.
will be through. Let's launch it first.
But
and
I'm
then-
sure we negotiate how I'm going to get my own copy right in the studio before
It's always
you
a
leave.
pleasure. NTA must have its own copy because
Great,
it's part
great,
of its work.
great.
Thank
So
you very much
very
for having
much
me.
for having this chat with us. Yes, we've been chatting with the pioneer head of Department Traditional, Complementary and Alternative Medicine from Federal Ministry of Health, talking about Hajia pharmacist Zainab Sharif. Thank you for sharing this moment with
Thank you for having me on my birthday. God bless you.
Wow! Happy birthday to you!
Thank you very much.
Wow, this is a
It's a
double
pleasure.
celebration,
Yes,
trust
thank
me.
you.
But
Thank
right
you.
now we go on a break, and after that the show continues. So please stay with us. All right, thank you for joining us again. The show is still Weekend Deal, and still going back to the issue of the day, talking about the civil service as the engine room of good governance. I know as a civil servant, one day you certainly retire, and for many of us, once you begin to approach that retirement age, you begin to think about pension and gratuity, and definitely this has presented some level of challenge for the civil servants today. So NTA Ibadan will actually look at this.
The civil service is the backbone of any successful government. It comprises an assemblage of career officers recruited in a civil capacity to serve the citizenry. By their training, they are equipped to champion the cause of development by faithfully implementing and ensuring evaluation of government policies and programs. As they help to propagate these policies, there is need for government at the federal, state and local government levels to take proper care of its civil service in terms of prompt payment of salaries, allowances, staff welfare, gratuities and pensions. Many individuals have paid their dues serving government in various capacities. After retirement, the issue of their remuneration, pension and gratuities being paid on time and as at when due has become a big concern. The mode of payment of these emoluments leave much to be desired. Comparing the old and new methods of payment, how promptly are they paid?
The old pension scheme is better than this new pension scheme, because with this new pension scheme, we find out when the pensioners are when the workers or will be pensioners when they are at work, so they will contribute. At the end of it all, this the state government or federal government, when they need money, they just go into it, so that at the end of the whole thing, when they get out, they don't find anything to collect.
In some states, yes. Like in Oyo State, pensions are paid as and when due, and in full. In some other states, if like in Oyo State now, Seyi Makinde has taken a date. Since he came on board May 2019, he has taken a date which is 25th day of every month.
A government official said premium are being placed on payment of gratuities and pensions of retired civil servants who have served the government meritoriously.
This administration has paid over 12 billion to offset some gratuity. Gradually, we are moving on. We are addressing the backlog that we made on ground. Welfare takes a central role.
It is opined that if the government sanitizes and properly monitors the relevant agencies saddled with the responsibility of welfare of active and retired civil servants, the government's ideas and plans can be well executed and implemented by the civil servants for the optimal goals of the nation.
Certainly you want to retire well from the civil service, and I know for those who have retired, you have different challenges that you have to deal with, and health, I know, is one critical area that must aged, people in the society battling with. And of course, you don't want to have, TB, because sometimes that your immune system at that point is not too strong. And right now, during the week we had World TB Day, so a lot of events were organized to mark the day, and that is exactly what our next feature talks about, a collaboration between the Federal Ministry of Health and Breakthrough Action. Let's take this.
Tuberculosis is world's most deadly infectious disease, and Nigeria is one of the highest TB-burdened countries in Africa, with over an estimated 440,000 cases annually as of 2020. This is why the Federal Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the USAID-funded project Breakthrough Action Nigeria, developed and launched a unified national tuberculosis social and behavioral change SBC campaign to mark the Universal TB Day with a theme titled "The Clock is Ticking."
The main drivers of the TB burden in Nigeria are undernutrition, HIV, diabetes, smoking, and alcohol use. Tackling TB is highly prioritized in Nigeria, in line with government's efforts to ensure good health and well-being for all Nigerians, as envisioned in Sustainable Development Goal 3, the Federal Ministry of Health, through the National Tuberculosis and Leprosy Control Program, and with the support of partners, has initiated a number of interventions with some remarkable achievements.
The event aims to create awareness on early detection of TB and TB case findings in Nigeria, availability of the drugs, and more importantly, how the government has made it free for all, which many are unaware of.
What we do is that we leverage on the other strengths we have. We have other activities that are ongoing, so we mainstream TB into them. Some of us do malaria, we do HIV, we do other things, other diseases.
With the support of the media, it hasn't actually been that difficult. It is the resources to be able to amplify it and be able to translate into as many languages as possible. If you look at the epidemiology of tuberculosis, it is actually more prevalent among men and in low socioeconomic class. So you actually have to make the noise very loud.
It hopes that the introduction of the National TB Call Center via toll-free line 3340, media campaigns with the slogan "Chekamo," and major inputs from partners, TB in Nigeria will be reduced to the barest minimum.
Okay, that is exactly what we want to see, and thank you, Miriam, for that. And then, of course, for anyone, you always want to maintain that healthy status, because only the healthy can get to enjoy all the fun life has to offer. And right now, we say bye for now, because next weekend, certainly, we're going to be here again. Bye for now.